Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Danfonce Talks Metal. I have Justin from the band Wristmeetrazor with me today. Justin, how you doing, man? How's everything been?
Great.
Hell yeah, dude.
Trying to survive, the pandemic here.
Yeah, I know, right? We're almost we're kind of getting out of it, slowly but surely, right? Oh,
Right.
you know Brad, right? Zordragger. Am I
Yeah.
pronounced? Yeah, did I pronounce that right, Brad? The most interesting last name ever. He said, "Hey, Justin." Yes, I did. I did it. Hell yeah.
Brad rules. And he
That is
does have the most interesting last name ever. I don't think I've ever,
Zorg.
I've even heard that before.
What is it? Zorg Drag. It's Zorg, right? Zorg
Right.
Dragger. Yes. I love Brad. I've had him on here once. We had a good time. He is the homie. But anyway, so I guess during this whole, long ass vacation we've had, what have you guys been up to? What have you been doing to stay busy?
The same thing that I think everyone's been doing to stay busy. Hopefully everyone that plays music, we wrote a bunch.
Yeah.
Well, really, the way that it all kind of went down, we pre-pro'd the record in February of last year. We went
Oh
out to
shit.
rural Kentucky and
Yeah.
spent a week with Isaac from Knock Loose writing the record. We all had a bunch of ideas, but it was pre-COVID, so it was kind of when the
Yeah.
buzz was going around that something really big
Something's.
was about to happen,
Yeah.
but it
Yeah.
hadn't
February.
happened yet.
Mm-hmm.
There was even at that time, I was thinking back to it the other day, is like, even at that time, there was a lot of like anticipation of what it was going to be. And I think
Yeah. There
I
was.
remember us having, I remember us having conversations where it's like, well, we have these really cool plans if they can happen, hopefully. But you know what I mean? Though it was something that was hard to like really plan for. So
Mm-hmm.
that happened. The whole COVID thing really came to the peak the next month in March.
Yeah.
And then what we had a tour planned that got canceled.
Mm-hmm.
Then we went and recorded the record in June. I spent the three prior months writing lyrics. We recorded the record in June. We shot the music videos in December, and
Oh, okay.
we started releasing in March. The
Yeah.
first single on March. Second single came out this month. So we tried to really space it out so there was not a huge gap in what we were actually doing. But the
Yeah.
reality is that a lot
Yeah.
has gotten done in a short period of time, and then we've not really had much to do besides that.
Yeah. It probably would have came out. It probably would have came out sooner, huh? If this all
What it
didn't
came
happen.
out What it was supposed to come out last year.
Yeah.
Honestly, that was the original plan, was that we'd put it out sometime late last year and just tour all year, and then tour all year this year
Yep.
continuously, which we had done on our last record cycle. We toured for a year and a half straight.
Yeah. I
And
remember. Yeah. You
and
guys were
now,
grinding.
yeah, we did everything. And now it's been a year plus of no tours, almost a year and a half now, shockingly enough.
Yeah. It's fucking
Of
wild,
no
right?
no touring, and it's been tough. It's a huge shift.
Yeah, it is. I mean, we're getting through it, but it, it's definitely been a weird time of our lives.
Yeah, I really don't think I'll ever be able to put it into proper terms for anyone in the future as to what it exactly has been like, because it's not anything I could compare to anything else that I've
No.
ever experienced.
No, I don't
So
think I don't think any of us expected this to happen.
no,
No one was, we were not like prepared for it like at all.
not at
I wish
all.
we
Not,
were. I wish
I
we had a
mean,
couple months.
now we will be. If it happens again, we'll
Oh
be more
yeah.
prepared.
Oh yeah.
But you know,
Hey,
it doesn't do much good right now. But in
exactly.
the future, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. So let's go back a little bit. Like, where did you grow up? Like, where?
I grew up in a bunch of different places, but mostly in Las Vegas.
Mostly Las Vegas.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
rad. How did you get like into like metal music and shit growing up? Did anyone show you the way?
No, actually, strangely enough, I kind of grew up very sheltered and didn't have a ton of friends, but I was always very interested in the occult and weird things, and so, and
Yeah.
reading. I love to read. So when the internet first started, I was so enthralled by it. Like I was so into it that I would
Same.
go everywhere on the internet. And in a large part, it's the way I got into heavy music was just by going to websites, going to chat rooms, talking to people, and wanting to see what the most extreme thing out was. Like I really liked nu metal, like in
Same.
the late 90s, early 2000s. I mean, I still really like it.
Yep.
But that's how I kind of started. And then it just kind of grew more and more, because at the time, and I guess maybe kids now won't exactly kind of understand where it was coming from, but everyone hated nu metal. It was one of the most hated things ever. And when you go online and you go into a chat room or whatever,
The AOL
everyone
chat
would be
rooms.
like, yeah, they would be like, what are you talking about?
I used to do
listen
it all. Yeah.
You listen to Korn and Slipknot? That's so lame. Like literally people would, and they would say it in way more rude terms than that. But yeah, that's essentially what they would say. They would say, you should listen to Cradle of Filth. You should listen to Cannibal Corpse. You should listen to Children of Bodom and all these other bands. And I'd be like, okay, then I guess I will.
I guess I will check those out.
Yeah. And so I kind of did that whole thing, and I liked it all. Like, honestly, I just liked it all. And as I got, into like my high school years, I got into hardcore more. And then I kind of like, I mean, in order to kind of survive in high school, you have to have a group. So
yeah,
I had that group. I was into hardcore. So that's kind of where it is. And then it's just grown, and I just do my own thing now completely.
Yeah, that's how I am. I mean, I remember going into those like AOL chat rooms, but more like the Korn ones, Slipknot and all that shit. I wish we could like relive those days, or just like see it again, like the AOL chat rooms and all that shit. It would just bring us fucking back.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, and to some small degree, even though I probably wouldn't condone a lot of the things that were being said in
True, there were some
in the 90s. It got real out of line real quick from strangers. But I would say
big time.
Big time. But I would say that a lot of that molded who I am now and who I was becoming at the time. I don't know. To certain extents, I feel like, the harsh realities of unfiltered, just kind of brutality turns you into a different person when people around you, and it wasn't even just the chat room thing. It was just, growing up weird or different, or, not being like everyone else.
The norm. Yeah.
Late 90s, early 2000s, you were beaten into a place, whether you liked it or not. It was true. Open season for you, and and coming from me, I grew up in the Columbine age, and I was a goth kid that wore trench coats and all black and necklaces and rings and stuff like that. And so it was a thing where I was beaten into a place of not really liking who I was based on the people around me. Not necessarily I was who I am, but
for sure.
Other people didn't like it.
Oh yeah, it did. Especially back then when we were younger, it was like you were 100% the outcast and always looked at differently. And obviously, I went through, even when I was younger, like bullied and shit in middle school, elementary school, even too. Middle school, when I started getting into like new metal and shit and like finding like metal and stuff, it was just like, what the fuck are you doing? What are you listening to?
Exactly. It was that, and then it was like, and even when I listened to hardcore and metal and all that stuff, when I had like a little bit different of a look and a change, it didn't matter the way I was treated. I was treated the same way, because you're still an outcast. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
You can be a different flavor of outcast. You can listen to metal and still be treated like you don't belong. It's part of growing up, especially at that time period. And I can't necessarily say that that's what happens now, because I don't really know entirely if bullying is the same way. But I do think that I grew up a certain way, and I've been molded through my life's experiences, and those are very largely ingrained in me. Those moments.
Oh yeah, I feel you there. Growing up, I guess, like in Vegas for the most part, right? You're always in Vegas.
For the most part, yeah. My family moved to Vegas in 1999, so
Oh shit.
yeah.
Okay. What were like some of the places that you like went to shows at in Vegas? Do you remember any?
Well, in the very beginning, I would go to shows at the House of Blues, obviously.
Yeah.
It was inside the Mandalay Bay, which is
Mm-hmm.
an interesting House of Blues for sure. And
It
then there used
is.
to be a few, yeah, to that House of Blues. You know,
It's interesting, man.
when I was a kid, I thought it was like legitimately the coolest venue that I had ever seen. Like it has like
Oh, of
all of the
course.
kind of, it has like the like Freemason-esque occultist stuff up top with the
Yeah.
like with the all-seeing eyes and
Mm-hmm.
the bleeding hearts and stuff. But now as an adult, I go to that venue. I'm like, this is like the worst House of Blues in the whole country. This is like the worst one. Like,
Yeah.
no offense, House of Blues, Las Vegas, but it's like the worst one in the country. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's insane. But at the time, I thought it was so amazing.
Yeah. You thought it
Like,
was
so
rad,
cool.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, it was like the coolest thing ever. And it's like the floor is super small, the security's overzealous, they're real mean,
Oh
throw
yeah,
people out
dude.
for just throw people out for anything. And you really can't mosh at that House of Blues because I've seen them go into the crowd and pull bear hug people just for moshing. And not even for like hardcore dancing,
Just
moshing
like
or whatever.
push moshing.
Just yeah, for like it's pretty
Like,
ridiculous.
wow. Yeah, that's
For
like
any-
I've seen that at House of Blues and shit. I'm like, these fucking
Yeah.
like, what are you doing? What are you
Especially
doing?
for some reason, the Vegas one is one of the worst.
You
When it
think
comes
it's the
to
worst
that.
one? Yeah.
Right? It's probably, and when I was younger too, like the only shows I would go to there were ones with a bunch of like new metal bands on it. So it would be a bunch of freaks like me, and we'd all be trying to fuck with the security guards and just getting thrown out all the time. Yeah, like getting sat on. Like the security guards would do weird stuff. Like if you were like kind of like acting aggressive, they'd sit you on the curb and like be like, we're gonna call security and then we're gonna call the cops and you're gonna get arrested for trespassing.
Dude, I always remember, yeah, like even back like when I started like booking tours and stuff, like and putting stuff in Vegas, it was always a pain in the ass to get tours booked in Vegas. But when they would happen, it was just always most of the time like a shit show. I remember like I used to book Suffocate when they were still like active, and I had them out there with like, oh God, it was like the Red Shore. Betrayal, maybe that band Murder Death Kill and shit, and that show got shut the fuck down because it's shit just hit. I forget what venue it was at, but because there's so many. I feel like Vegas and New Jersey are like similar with like places that do shows, like venues or like halls or whatever, because like even in like in Jersey, you know, I'm from New York, so I went to Jersey a lot for shows growing up.
Right.
And like there were always like venues, like places getting shut down, not necessarily venues. It was always a thing, and I feel like that was like a thing in Vegas. It was like always just like going through different places. Like so,
we had a bunch.
Yeah, there was just like a shit ton.
We had a bunch of different venues, and we always kind of have. Like it's kind of strange. Like Vegas as a music scene, and not even just for metal or hardcore, or metalcore, or anything like that. As a general music scene, we've always been the wild, wild west out here, and that was another thing. It was so much different for me growing up because growing up, the only thing I knew about going to shows was that it was complete violence, complete chaos. People would go to jail and get arrested, and there would be fights at every single show. And it really was. And it not only like ramped up as I got into hardcore, because the hardcore shows here were absolutely insane.
Chaos,
and we would always get into fights too. And that was the early 2000s, and everyone was straight edge and vegan, and there was all kinds of crazy stuff going on. And it was great. It was awesome. I'm not entirely sure how well it would hold up today as to like what was going on, but
no, definitely not. It would hold up today. It would definitely not hold up today, dude.
Yeah, I think it would get some odd looks today based on like how it kind of went down. But yeah, like Vegas has always been like that for me, at least. Yeah. And there was another venue. So back in the day, there was another venue too called the Huntridge, which also did big stuff.
Okay.
So House of Blues would do all the corporate big stuff, and Huntridge would do all of the like slightly more DIY stuff, slightly more. But they were cool with moshing, and so that was a venue where everyone would go and literally just start destroying people too. I saw Bleeding Through, Himsa, and the Red Chord play there one time, and watched. Yeah, amazing lineup. And watched during the Red Chord, during Dreaming in Dog Years, watched some probably 12 to 13-year-old girl get punched full force in the face and just crumble by a grown man. And it was one of those moments where I was like, wow,
Like,
we're really going out now.
Yeah.
Fucking
That's not good.
Yeah.
How long was that venue around for? Do you remember?
A long time.
Was
a long
it?
time actually. And that venue had a lot of issues with stuff like that. So cops would get called all the time, but they were able to keep it open until like 2006 or 2007. And it opened in like the 80s, I think. It was one of our longest ever venues.
Wow.
But yeah, that was one of those venues where if there was a hardcore or metalcore band playing, it was complete violence.
Yeah.
No,
shit would hit the fan
nothing
all the time.
else.
Yeah.
Just nonstop. As soon as it started, there would just be nonstop violence. And that was also at a time period, which I'm sure you can also like kind of understand. The early 2000s was when there was like actual kind of weird racism and fucking neo-Nazis and stuff like that would go to shows like that.
Yeah.
They would see any kind of heavy show and they would just be there.
They'll show up to it.
There.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Start
and
shit.
We had a show, or we didn't have a show, but I went to a show that was like, it was like DRI and then some hardcore bands. It was like a mixed show, but because DRI was playing, there was a bunch of like white power kind of dudes.
Yep.
And of course, you know, they're trying to get into fights. And I remember after the show, me and my friends, and we were all probably like 15 or 16 years old. We're all fucking challenging these dudes out in the parking lot. All these white power dudes waiting for them to come out. Just out of ignorance. They showed up too with guns and it was fun.
Wow.
We fled real quick.
Yeah.
But we were we were down to fight them because
fuck them. Yeah.
Right.
They literally showed up with guns. Dude, I remember, I don't know if you remember the band Murder Death Kill or like Donnybrook and shit. Did you ever meet Pitbull Dan, the guitarist? You know, so I haven't talked to him in a while, but like I lived in LA for a few years, so we would hang out a good amount. And he would always tell me about shows, like even where like, you know, Southern California and even in like Vegas about like white power dudes and all this shit showing up to shows. He's like, dude, we would just show up and just fucking beat the fuck out of these dudes all the time. Yeah. I was like, he was like, it was like a common thing.
Yeah, it was. I mean, that's a real Southwest thing too, because, you know, a lot of especially in Vegas, a lot of our like alternative, like kind of hardcore punk music scenes were all fairly new, you know, they weren't old. So the people that it was drawing upon weren't super like old hardened ass dudes. So it was up to like a lot of the younger kids to defend from those white power dudes who've probably been around for like 10, 20 years, you know?
Yeah.
But we always did as much as we possibly could with a lot of those fucking bonehead guys.
Yeah,
so.
That was such a fucking mess. The dude, even like, you know, growing up in New York, there was obviously just like the shows were just insane, but I always remember like Jersey was like the most insane shows I've been to, like just seeing like Remembering Never down there and everything and just how violent it was like the scariest shit ever. But I'm there like 16 years old being like, oh my God, am I gonna die tonight? But I loved it.
Right.
At the same time, I was scared for my life, but I loved it.
Yeah. No, it was great.
Definitely. You don't see that like really anymore though. It's not as crazy as it was when we were younger.
Dude, it's totally not. I mean, and I think about that sometimes too. Yeah. I'm like, bro, was it crazier then, or did it just feel crazier? But I think it actually was crazier.
I think it was actually crazy.
I think it was.
I think it was too. So I go to shows now and I'm like, shit gets crazy, but I'm like, oh man, if this happened back when I was younger, or like this band, you know, like this band played back then, this shit would just hit the fan.
Right.
You know?
And and like it kind of goes across the board. Like there are much less fights, much less of that whole thing. I mean, it still happens, but it's, you know, not
from time to time.
It used to feel like it was every show thing.
Yeah. Like literally, that's literally what it felt like. Every show I would go to, I'd be like, yep, tonight someone's getting knocked out. A few people will get knocked out. Someone's going home in an ambulance. The show might get shut down. It was like every show. I was like, I don't know what's gonna happen tonight.
It was every single show. I mean, it was cool because I remember, and I don't know, maybe it's not cool, but at the time, like at the time, it was, at the time you go to the show and you have all that anxious energy because you'd be like, something bad could happen tonight. But like the anticipation of like that in and of itself was kind of a huge rush. Like it's a rush. It was a rush.
Yeah. I would get like anxious going to shows. Like when I was younger, like I wasn't, like 15, 16, I wasn't driving yet, I don't think I didn't get my license till I was 17. So I wasn't so my dad's like dropping me off. And I remember
Right.
being like on the way to the venue, which was in Poughkeepsie, New York, the Chance, and like being like anxious. Like I will never forget feeling that way, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But like I remember always feeling like anxious showing up to the show.
Right.
Kind of like tense and whatnot, but like excited at the same time.
Yeah.
So,
it's a crazy feeling. It's unreplicated in my everyday life now, and I kind of miss it. I really do. Even playing shows and touring and stuff, that kind of has its own aspect of like kind of anxiety that goes into it, and it is kind of a similar kind of nervous, right? Like feeling, but it's not the same where you're legitimately concerned that you might get hurt or go to jail. That kind of thing is really, it's unreplicated in normal life. And if anyone out there hasn't experienced that before, it's very unique. It's a very unique rush.
It really is.
I can't put it into words.
Yeah, you can't really put it into words. It's just
no.
I mean, the only way I could really explain it is just being like really anxious. I don't know, like tense and like showing up in like your heart rate is going, faster than it should. And you're not I'm not even there yet. Nothing's happening.
Bands are setting up. Bands are setting up on stage and you're like super anxious. Like it's just like a normal
You're looking around, you're like, okay.
Yeah.
They're gonna fight each other.
Right.
That dude is for sure just knocking everyone out. Because there was always like those dudes, that just went way too hard. And you're just like, oh god damn it, this is gonna be one of those nights.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh shit. But anyway, those were the good old days.
Yeah.
With Wristmeetrazor, how did this band form? How did this all come together?
We started in 2017. Jonah kind of was doing it as this kind of bedroom-esque screamo project. He had posted about it. He had posted about it on his Facebook, but he didn't really give any information as to what it was. And it was one of those things. At the time, we really wanted to do a much more like mysterious thing where like our identities weren't necessarily attached to the project. Yeah. Like it was very nameless in the very, very beginning. And so I had figured out, I had just kind of process of elimination figured out that he wasn't just posting it, he was actually the guy doing it, just based on what other people were saying and how he was responding to him. So I messaged him about it and I was like, because it didn't say that on the Bandcamp or anything like that. And in no way did he say I did this. He just said, I found this kind of thing.
Okay. I like that.
But so I figured that out and I messaged him, and I think both him and I had been in other bands and that had just kind of broken up or done whatever. And so it was a thing where we were both kind of had voids in our, our musical kind of careers, I suppose. So I hit him up and I was like, we should try to do this as like a real thing. Like if you're into it, like I would love to be a part of it. And he was, and
kind of just started from there.
Yeah. The rest is history, really.
Because he's in a few different bands, right? Incantation. Am I pronouncing that right? Is Jonah in that?
No, Jonah's he does a lot of his own kind of things still.
Oh, okay.
He has his own. He does a band called Glass Killing Floor with Brian, our drummer.
Oh, okay. I'm referring to your drummer.
Yeah.
Right?
You are.
Okay. Sorry, I'm getting things mixed up.
No, it's all good. It's all good. But yeah, no, I mean, I think things have definitely shifted where I think Wristmeetrazor is, kind of the main focus for all of us at this point. But Jonah does a lot of he still does a lot of his own stuff because he just loves writing music. So he does a lot of his own kind of cool things. But for the most part, it's all Wristmeetrazor for us. Is
it? Yeah. That's like the main focus.
Yeah.
And how did and you guys are all like scattered throughout the country, right? You said you're in Vegas, obviously. And then where are the other guys from again?
And then Brian Prosser, our drummer, is in Kentucky. Yep. He's in Louisville. Jonah is currently in Virginia. he was in Louisville, but he moved to Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
And our other guitar player, Tyler, is in Delaware.
Or so they're relatively close to each other. You're the one guy that's across the country.
Yeah, basically.
Basically, right.
And that was more or less just luck of the draw, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I feel like we all just kind of like lucked into it, but there are just, I mean, I think there are probably more musicians on that side of the Mississippi River. That's what it seems like, at least to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Probably. That's what it definitely seems like. Yeah, because the band really caught my attention when you guys released Misery Never Forgets. That's when I was like, oh, damn, who's this band? Because you guys, like, there's like this resurgence of like the old school metalcore sound coming back that I've grew up on, you know?
Yeah.
And same with you, obviously. Yeah. So it was like when it started coming out, I was like, damn, man, all these, it's coming back. I'm like, you know, I think the one band that really made me notice it more, like the most, was Vane. Like when they their EP, but I didn't find them on their EP. I found them they played This Is Hardcore Fest, but I found the video that 856 did, and I love all the shit he does, by the way. That dude rules.
Yeah, he's great.
And I found that video he did of them, and I was like, damn, what? I remember just like playing it in the I watched it, and I'm like, this is fucking sick. Then I put on the EP, and I'm like, oh, this EP doesn't sound that great. It was like fine, but like the video like made them sound better. So I'd always play that video. I'm like, man, it's like old school metalcore sounds coming back, like the shit I grew up on. So when I discovered you guys, and I was just like, damn, this is fucking awesome. Like, I love this. I love that these bands are like writing shit like this and bringing that sound back, because I feel like there was like this period of time where I don't know, metalcore or whatever you want to call it was just like very stale. It was very like, you know, there's a lot of those like, I guess you could call them Rise record bands. And it was just like the same thing over and over again. And I was just like, it's so processed and like not real and just like nothing to it, in my opinion, you know? And then when bands like Vane and stuff started coming out, I was like, this is fucking awesome. So was that like when you guys like started, like came together, you know, when you joined it and whatnot, was that like always like I guess the inspiration? Just always, right?
Well, Jonah and I are our first bond, even before the band, was music and merch and stuff like that from that era, from the early 2000s, all metalcore stuff, because we were both really, really into stuff like that. And at the time, there was definitely a cool little community of people that would, you know, talk about merch, talk about the bands, talk about the shows and stuff like that. And Jonah and I specifically like some of those very obscure small groups from that era. And so it was a huge influence to like kind of put towards Wristmeetrazor, because Wristmeetrazor in theory, when it started, it was definitely a lot more Joshua Fit for Battle, Neil Perry, Orchid kind of screamo. That was definitely what the band was. But at the same time, there was at no point where we didn't like the metalcore bands that were also of that era, that were, you know, were pretty kind of, for lack of a better word, kind of spazzy, chaotic kind of thing. So the influences were always kind of hand in hand there, but the metalcore thing's always been there. And I think it, for us at least, it's kind of evolved into different stuff. Like I don't know. My biggest thing is I never want to put out the same record twice. I don't want to continue writing songs that sound exactly like the last thing we wrote, even if I do like, you know, a lot of the same influences. I feel like it's I feel like you're kind of cheating the people that like you when you just keep writing the same song. So, So we want
to evolve.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
We utilize different influences now than we did in the beginning, or even than we did on Misery Never Forgets. The band's constantly evolving, and it always will. As long as we're around, it'll change.
It'll keep going. Yeah. No, I definitely like the two new singles you guys have out are fucking awesome. And even, you know, I listened to those a few more times today, and like you could tell the band's like evolved and just got like even more mature. And I definitely love it. How did you? I noticed that obviously Isaac from Knock Loose was on Last Tango in Paris. How did that all come together?
Well, he produced all the tracks. So
did he really?
Yeah, he had a heavy hand in the writing of all of them.
Wow.
That's why when we went to Kentucky to pre-pro with him, he was also helping with all the production and stuff. And so, I mean, like naturally, I think he kind of took a very intelligent role as a producer. I think this is his first record that he's produced, and his
that's so sick.
The first one he's produced in whole, and he took a role where he wasn't trying to be too overbearing. Like a lot of the ideas were things that we would bring to the table, but he's very receptive and responsive to different ideas. And I think out of anyone I've ever met that is a musician, he is probably one of the best musicians I've ever met. He just understands.
Dude, he is, man. Yeah.
So that helped a lot, honestly, because he didn't try to like stomp on ideas or change anything. He really just understood the band and where we wanted to go, and then he helped it get bigger.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think even Ty in the chat was like Isaac Hale, the upcoming Will Putney when it comes to producing. I mean, he really is. I feel like Putney's the same way too. You know, when I've talked to people in bands that Putney's produced, like Counterparts and stuff like that, and a few others, they're just always like, dude, like he just knows what he's doing, and he never tries to step in too much, you know, and just like lets the band do their thing and just helps the band, you know, write better songs, you know, or give them ideas.
Yeah.
You know, that's what you want from a producer.
And he gets it. The thing is that he understands we're in a very strange position, I think, as far as rock music goes. I think rock music is maybe at its lowest points. It's been at its lowest points for years, but I think it's maybe it's at its lowest and most boring points right about now, in my opinion, at least. But Isaac is a dude that, despite all that, understands how to write a good song regardless of the genre. And so you don't really have to like have a trendy kind of songwriting kind of thing with him. He knows what you want to do, and he's able to put it into something that fits with what you do. He's not trying to force you to write some trendy kind of modern metalcore thing or whatever. You know what I mean? Because
I know what you mean, exactly.
The way that rock and metalcore is sold now, especially, like you have to have a very specific thing for a lot of the producers, and Isaac's not like that at all. And it really is what I think what will put him ahead of most in the future.
That's rad. So who went on to mix and master the record? Did Isaac, or you guys sent it out?
Isaac didn't mix and master it. What happened was, so we pre-pro'd with Isaac. I went back to Vegas because of the pandemic. I wrote all the lyrics, and then we went to Bricktop in Chicago, which is Andy Nelson from Weekend Nachos. It's his studio. Bunch of great records came out of there. Fucking a couple Harm's Way records.
Oh yeah, he's done a good amount.
Yeah, he does great stuff. We recorded our Take Your Shot Fun Boy song there too. So we knew we wanted to do the record there. So, but what happened, how it went down was Isaac actually came out with us because we all met in Kentucky, and then we drove up with Isaac. Yeah. So we all drove up to Chicago, and he spent the week there and kind of, again, like helped with the ideas and what it really kind of, when you're writing a record and when you're recording a record, especially, to have different ideas for how to make something sound good is monumental. Like when you have like an insular group of 4 or 5 dudes who've only listened to the songs over and over and over again and are only thinking about what it's going to do for us and how we feel about it, you create an echo chamber of ideas that sometimes isn't the best. You know what I mean? Sometimes that's not for the best. Having other people in there saying, listen, this is cool, but might be cooler to try this. And then you do it and you're like, wow, you know, we would have never thought of that because we are all kind of on one track. Yeah, so, exactly. So he helped immensely with that. And when we were there, I really wanted to try to see if he wanted to do guest vocals on a song. And I had a part in Last Tango that I had written that I thought matched his vocals real cool. And he can make sound like Randy from Lamb of God. And he did. No, he nailed it. Yeah. When Isaac's part comes in, it hits you hard. You know, it's him right away. You're like, oh shit, you know, in your face. He has such a great and unique voice. And at times we've gotten weird comments on some of our stuff where people are all like,
Really?
this isn't the guy from Knocked Loose or something like that. And it's like, he's the guy from Knocked Loose that you'll be hearing a lot more of. You should take note
Yeah.
because the vocals are great, honestly.
Yeah. He is, dude. He's strong, like very in your face style of vocals, which I fucking love.
Right.
You know, I love that shit. Like I grew up like listening like Nate Johnson with Deadwater Drowning and shit, and that I loved like just the really in your face vocals like Howard Jones and shit with Blood Has Been Shed. So it's just like Isaac, you know, has that same style.
He really does. He has his own kind of thing that he does. He utilizes kind of a very specific kind of cadence and Knocked Loose that I think carries over to the other stuff he does. It's awesome.
It
very
is
cool.
Had a cool question from Ty in the chat
Sure.
for you. Other than the proposed tour that so many people have been asking for involving See You Space Cowboy, Static Dress, and If I Die First, are there any throwback metalcore bands that you wish Wristmeetrazor can tour with?
Well, personally, I would love to tour with 18 Visions or Bleeding Through. That'd be great. Ideally, I'd love to tour with 18 Visions.
18 Visions would be fucking perfect for you guys.
It would be very, very cool.
Yeah.
I don't know how much touring they would really want to do, but that's something that I've put out into the universe many times. So.
Yeah, I could see that happening for sure.
Yeah.
At least like a few shows, you know, because they're never going to be, I don't think they'll ever be like a full-time band again.
Right.
You know,
but besides 18 Visions, I mean, I really think that the Furnace Fest lineup is awesome this year.
Yeah.
So there's no limit to the number of bands that are doing that I think we would want to tour with.
Yeah,
honestly.
that lineup is just insane.
Yeah, it's pretty perfect. It's pretty much a dream lineup of bands that I would have loved to see 20 years ago, 10 years ago, and now. All playing. So.
Yeah, I hope nothing like gets in the way of that fest because I really want to go. So I'm like, you know, there's all bands like I grew up going to their shows for the most part. You know, there's some young bands on there too, which is sick. But like, man, like that lineup they put together, I was like, how the fuck? Because I did a podcast with them a couple weeks ago, and I was just like, how did you do this? How do you pull this off?
Yeah.
Because at first, when they first pre-pandemic, when they first started announcing bands, people were like, is this real? Or is this like, are you fucking with us? Like they literally had people hitting them up being like, is this a real thing? Because no one, you know, a lot of like younger people or whatever, like a lot of people didn't know what Furnace Fest was. So, you know, a lot of people were like, what is this, like a new fest? Like, no, this is no, this was like the Hellfest of the South.
Of the South,
yeah. Like that's what it was, you know, and but yeah, it's just like that lineup. Yeah. Like you guys like fit like perfectly in that lineup.
No, totally. I mean, I don't know. Maybe you could put in a good word for it. We've been trying to get on it. So.
Well, yeah, I will ask. I'll tell Colin and I was like, Colin, let me talk to Ryan over there in chat. Maybe we'll get Wristmeetrazor, just squeeze on there. Because I plan on going. Like I booked a hotel, which was a good deal because if it does get canceled, knock on wood, they give a refund up until like the day before. So I was like, okay, I might as well just book this now. But yeah,
it's looking good that it's going to happen though.
I feel like it will. I mean, everyone, you know, I've talked about this a good amount, but like everyone, you know, getting the vaccine is pretty easy. Like
it's very easy.
Yeah, I already got my first shot, and I get my second one in like a week, I think, or a week and a half. So a lot of my friends have already gotten their second shot and everything. So I mean, it's very accessible. So I feel confident that, you know, everything that we see that's been announced for this year should happen.
Right. So I agree. I think it's in a good spot for stuff happening this year for sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But anyway, so you guys join, like Colin manages the band. Him joining 5B management was that pretty crazy? Yeah,
that's massive. You know, Colin works with Vitalo too.
Yeah.
James Vitalo's assistant. So James Vitalo is real intimately involved with the band as well. And
that's great. Yeah, James is awesome.
He's amazing. And to have them both be able to step up to 5B, I'm just real proud of them.
Me too, man. Yeah, like when Colin and Vitello told me that, because I book Undeath, they hit me up and they're like, "Hey, we're working with Undeath, blah blah blah." And then Colin told me that before they announced it, like, "Hey, we're going over to 5B," and I was like, "Oh wow!" So anyone here that doesn't know what 5B management is or who they work with, to name a few, we'll start with Slipknot, Megadeth, Behemoth, Pennywise, Lamb of God, and a lot of others. And now Wristmeetrazor, Knock Loose, Terror, Turnstile, Harm's Way. So it's really cool to see. I've been a booking agent for 15 years now. So like to see a management company like that, which I've known of 5B for probably almost 15 years or about that, probably maybe a little bit less. But anyway, to see like a management company bring in, two younger dudes with like these younger, so, and Terror's been around for a little bit, but like younger bands like you guys, it's really awesome because I've seen managers go from like a smaller mid-sized management company to like a big one, and like that company doesn't let them bring over like their smaller bands. They're like, you got to let go of this band, this band, this band. So to see a management company this massive, Slipknot and shit, down with bringing over smaller bands and being about it is really fucking cool.
Yeah, we're very fortunate. We're very fortunate to be able to be in this position, especially considering what 5B is and their legacy and their their much larger place in the music industry. It's flattering for sure.
It's fucking rad. So definitely congrats to Colin and James and you guys as well. I mean, it's a big fucking deal. So aside from the band, I just learned yesterday that you're a promoter in Vegas with Black Path Booking, which is funny. We were talking about this a little bit before we started this episode up. I always talk to, I believe it was always Dustin. You may have responded to an email too in the past. When did you start booking shows? Like, when did you start getting into that?
So I really started booking kind of nonstop in 2014 or so,
okay.
But I didn't really do anything. I really tried to stay on the DIY hardcore side of things at first for a while. It was mostly just I would book through like Forthright. I don't know if you remember that company.
Forthright Booking? With Travis?
Yeah, with Travis.
Oh, okay. Yeah, of course. Okay.
I booked a lot of stuff with him, but it was a while ago. Like it was 2014.
A while ago.
And then it kind of got to the point where it died off a little bit and then came back real big about 3 or 4 years ago. Dustin wanted to jump on, and then we all started pitching in, kind of had a good collective going, and I've been trying to book bigger and bigger things. And it's really unfortunate, the pandemic, because we were getting to the point where we were able to book, we were able to kind of step up into the level of freelance guys that booked stuff that were Live Nation-esque or Live Nation, because we booked a couple Live Nation gigs. And so it was interesting that we were DIY freelancers that were getting to book some of the biggest kind of level of acts, but COVID,
Yeah, COVID.
That's not it for that. That was it for that. And then I don't know. Now that it's coming back, there's some stuff in the works for sure. There's more stuff coming. So thankfully, everyone's going to have some opportunities to book some shows now.
I know, and I feel like Vegas has always had like an issue with like an all ages spot.
Yeah, right? Lots of those. I mean, goes back to what I was talking about earlier with the, with having House of Blues and Huntridge be the only two venues I could really recall when I was a lot younger. Mm-hmm. And it was because those two venues, amongst a host of other real smaller ones that only stuck around for like 6 months, those two venues were it for all ages.
That was it.
Consistency. That was it. There was some smaller ones that would come and go every 6 months to a year. But that was it. And the way it is now, all of those have been shut down besides House of Blues. So really,
that's insane,
our all ages music scene is just VFW halls. And it probably will be for the foreseeable future. So, I mean, unless someone's going to be able to step up, pay for a venue and pay for a liquor license that they could get all ages. You know what I mean? And that's a hard thing in Vegas.
It is a hard thing out there, huh? To have like an all ages venue with like a liquor license.
It's virtually impossible. That aspect of it is, unless you're a private hall. So
damn.
And the real issue is that you can't be within X amount of feet of a bar if you're going to do all ages events, all ages dancing hall events, whatever the case is. You know what I mean? And it's just, you know, we don't have when it's, you know, people like me or Dustin doing shows, we don't have the money or resources to be fighting legal battles for stuff like that.
Oh,
you know
yeah,
I mean?
no, exactly.
You know, we're booking 500 cap rooms, you know, or smaller. Like we don't have the kind of money that would be needed to, you know, go after a lot of that stuff. So yeah, the VFW whole thing, it is kind of
our way.
It's our loophole.
Yeah,
all of it, that's for sure. And I mean, who knows about the future? But that is where we're at right now, and there isn't any exclusively all ages venues that only book all ages events in Vegas. So.
Yeah, it's a bummer. It's like the one spot that I always have like an issue, like trouble booking in.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, like I came to with like Skeletal Remains. It's like, that'll probably do like decent in Vegas, but it's like probably going to have to bring it to like a 21 plus bar, you know, to make it work.
Yeah.
And it's like, which will be okay. Like, you know, but it's like, it kind of sucks because like, you know, even them, you know, and the bands on that tour, they're like, you know, we want to do like all ages shows, which I totally understand.
Right. No, I do too. And Vegas is such a strange kind of city with stuff like that. A lot of times, when it comes to metal, a lot of the 21 plus stuff does do better than the all ages stuff. Cause when it comes to all ages shows and the kids that are going to those, they're more so into like the more popular bands and less into the metal bands. Cause there is a huge death metal and metal scene in Vegas.
There is,
they do Las Vegas Death Fest here, and it sells out. It sells out all the venues, all the 21 plus venues on the in downtown Las Vegas. So there's a metal scene for sure, but they are definitely of drinking age and want to go to bar shows. So for us, for Black Path, it's a huge question as to what we want to put our money behind.
Yeah, which I totally understand.
I like to help out. Yeah, I like to help out when it comes to booking in Vegas, and I like to be a part of the next generation, pay it forward a little bit from what you know I grew up in. So
definitely, no, that's rad. It was just like funny. I remember when you emailed me back, and I was like, "Wait, is this him?" Because you know, like your last name is not common.
Yeah, no,
not at all. Yeah, and I was just like, "Is that him?" I feel stupid for not knowing this.
No, you know, and that's one of those things funny, too. Man. Like, that's one of those things too. When it comes to like booking shows, I try to kind of separate the two, the band and the show aspect, so it doesn't seem like there's like some sort of conflict of interest going on. But yeah, it is me.
Yeah, so that's fucking rad. We had a question. Were you booking shows when Escape the Fate with Ronnie Radke first started blowing up?
I wasn't booking shows then, but I was going to shows then, and I've met him and his band. And funnily enough, I guess weirdly enough, one of the weirder Vegas stories that I have is, so to dial it all back to when I was a kid, in middle school, I went to middle school with Monty Money, who was the original guitar player for Escape the Fate. Okay. He was the guy that did all the leads and stuff, all the solos. And he was actually in my very first band. I was in a band with him for a couple months. Yeah. We wanted to sound like Orgy. We were going to practice in the house. We had a
I used to love Orgy.
It would have been great.
Yeah.
It would have been great. And then when Escape the Fate first started blowing up, he met me at a show and he was all like, "Dude, you got to check out this band I'm in, Escape the Fate." And it was funny.
That's so fucking funny. What were what was that? Sorry.
I was gonna say at the time I was in a band called Molotov Solution, and so I was like,
we had that question in chat. I did not know this.
Yeah.
What did you play in Molotov?
Bass. I was the first original bass player for Molotov Solution. I was in it for about a year and a half. But that was
shit. Wow.
Yeah, that was right after I joined that. And so he had told me about that, and I was like, "Oh, you got to check out my new band."
Yeah.
We exchanged MySpace links. Yeah.
That's fucking rad. I'm a big Molotov fan.
Yeah, it was fun. It was a fun thing.
Yeah, right. That's so fucking insane. Yeah, I had no idea. I really only know Nick, and Nick wasn't original though. Nick is the
Yeah,
second
no,
vocalist, right?
yeah,
He's second, yeah. And then Robbie original?
yeah.
Robbie is,
Robbie
right?
was in the band when I joined the band in 2005, and I think Robbie's the only member that was in it at the time that's in it now. I believe.
Okay.
I'm not
Yeah.
sure to what extent they exist right now, but whatever that
Yeah,
is,
I know. They're being very mysterious about things. So I'll go to Nick and be like, all right, when we getting this new Molotov? He's like, it's coming along. We'll see. We'll see. I'm like,
yeah.
just is it happening? And
I
I'm
mean,
like, we'll see. I
from
guess.
what I've heard, it should be happening.
I know. That's from what I heard too. That's cool though. That's fucking
Yeah.
awesome. Another question I thought was good. Do you see metalcore of now heading towards a more independent situation in the future instead of relying on labels? It's an
That's an
interesting
interesting
question.
it's a real interesting question. I
I'm
mean,
not
and
sure.
what's funny is about that question is if you would have asked me it about 5 years ago, I would have absolutely said yes, because at the time, a lot of us were all kind of into the bring back early 2000s metalcore thing, which wasn't necessarily in line with any kind of trend. It wasn't popular, But then I think once a couple different things happened, once Bane got signed to Closed Casket, once Sanction got signed to Pure Noise, it changed a lot in the landscape, because after that we got signed to Prosthetic, and any number of other metalcore bands kind of in our same kind of level or a little bigger than us all also got signed to record labels. And so now I feel like all of our bands can't go back, really, not where we're at right now. Maybe in the future we could go back to doing
Like
completely independently released stuff, but like that's not going to happen soon.
Yeah.
So
I think it just really depends on the band.
Right. It depends on the band,
right?
but for the immediate future, I think bands are going to continue to try to get signed to these record labels because, I mean, like it or not, we've set that course, right?
Yeah.
I think naturally it'll all go back to what it has been in the past. Everything's cyclical, everything returns. So it'll probably go back to being all independent at some point too. But I think as of right now, it's kind of hard to even think in those terms like we used to.
Yeah,
so
definitely. Do you have a favorite screamo band? Tyler asked.
Do I have a favorite screamo band? I have many favorite screamo bands. Like I said, Neil Perry was the biggest influence on what we were doing as Wristmeetrazor when we put out that first EP, those first two EPs, and when the demo came out. And I hit up Jonah and I was like, this sounds like, like Orchid and Neil Perry. Like, it's awesome. And that was always kind of my thing. So as far as the screamo thing went, I'm a little iffy on a lot of screamo stuff. Like, it's a very deep genre with a lot of lore and a lot of deep cuts, a lot of obscurity. And I've never really been the kind of guy that goes into, French screamo and European kind of the obscurities of that. But I do like the big ones a lot. And I still listen to them all the time. So
that's rad. We had a random question from Benny. If you could live in any video game world, what world would it be? What was it again?
Castlevania, for sure.
Castlevania, yes. That makes sense.
I think I already look like I'm in it right
now.
I
think yeah. Is Marjo in the chat said this guy looks fly with his glasses. He does. He does. He said, but fucking heavy metal fly.
Yeah. There you go. I like that.
LJ had a question too. What's one of your favorite tattoos?
What's one of my favorite tattoos? I have a bunch that I feel like would be more obvious, but I just think one of my favorite ones is I have 9 Inch Nails tattoo or lyrics tattooed on the sides of my hands.
Oh, that's
I don't know if you can see it.
Yep.
It says I tried, I gave up.
Love that. Love 9
Inch
Nails.
One of my favorite ones for sure.
That's awesome.
But I have so many at this point that I don't even really. It might sound kind of douchey, but I don't even think about them anymore. Like, I don't. When I wake up in the morning, I kind of never see any of them. Yeah. So I don't even think about having them. So
you're just so used to them.
Yeah. Thinking about them in terms of like which one is the one I like the most, I can't even, like, they don't even come to my mind unless I'm like physically looking at
Looking
them.
at him,
So,
you're like, wait, I don't know.
yeah, I'm like, I have tattoos, I know, but I'm not sure what they're of anymore.
Yeah, I forgot what I even got. Yeah.
Yeah, see them every single day.
Exactly. Ty asks, do you still call CU Space Cowboy Screamo, even though they have said not to referring the song title on their CD?
Yeah, I mean, I never called them screamo, to be honest with you. I don't think.
Yeah, they're metalcore to
But
me. I mean,
yeah, but
love that band.
I think I don't know. I think that they, just from my extensive conversations with them about stuff, I don't think that they necessarily care about being called screamo as much as they just think that title was funny. And I think that title's funny too. It's a reference. Like, I can't remember what the reference is that they're making there, but it's a funny reference. Us and Space Cowboy both have a very similar kind of self-deprecating sense of humor with our songs and our lyrics. So,
have you guys toured together before?
Yeah. We we actually toured together twice technically, because our very first West Coast tour in 2018 was with Space Cowboy and Letters to Catalonia, which was cool. No one was signed at that time. We hadn't signed to Prosthetic yet, and they hadn't signed to Pure Noise. So we were just playing crazy shows, and people didn't even know who we were. It was awesome.
I remember I saw them at a fest in Houston, and Through the Eyes of the Dead was there too. And I've been friends with Mike Rainey, the drummer, which he's like the second or third drummer of the band. But anyway, he's in a band, My Bitter End. But me and Mike like grew up together in New York, and I remember me and Mike were watching CU Space Cowboy, and I knew the band. I've listened to him before, so I was very familiar, And this was his first time watching them, and he's a little bit older than me. He's like, dude, this band is so sick.
Yeah.
He was so stoked on it. He was like, this band is so awesome.
They're very, very cool. And then we toured with them again in 2019, and they did Bloodfest in Michigan.
Oh, yes. In Detroit, or up somewhere near there.
Yeah, it's by Detroit.
It's by
Howell,
Detroit.
Michigan, I think.
Howell, yes.
They don't do it anymore. But they didn't let Wristmeetrazor play, but we set up merch anyways, and that went over great. The people there really did not seem to enjoy that we were set up very much. But anyways, so they played. They played. I'm not sure the kids there were like ready for whatever it was going to be. So they played.
Yeah.
I did a guest spot with Space Cowboy, and Connie like dove feet first into the crowd, into some random kids wearing backpacks up front. And I think probably ruined their day. Honestly, it was awesome though. It was great.
Yeah, that Bloodfest was always like a very eclectic lineup.
It's pretty weird. I'm not
all over the place.
It's weird. For anyone that doesn't know, Bloodfest happens in a high school, and it's a high school that looks just like your high school. It's not a special high school,
which is so crazy.
So you show up and you immediately have flashbacks to the worst times of your life, getting picked on, walking through the front doors of this high school. But they've set up stages, and there's like a stage in the gym, there's like a stage in like the lunch area, there's like a stage in the science room. It's really strange. And when we showed up,
so I never been to it.
Yeah.
I knew it was at a high school though.
When I showed up, it was surreal, because I've never seen anything set up like that before. Any show anywhere ever set up like that.
No.
And kids from all over Michigan come to this thing. So like it's packed. Like there's lines around the building to get around the high school to get in and watch bands.
Yeah.
It's really weird. And as a grown man, I felt like it was maybe one of the strangest throwbacks I've ever had on tour, because I've never felt like I was going back to high school just going to a show. But it was bad.
It brought you back. So they set up in the science room. What the fuck?
Yeah, there's like a small stage that they set up in some sort of weird science-esque. It's like a big room with white walls that looks like
a
where
classroom,
you take like a physics class or something. Yeah, it was crazy, man. And like just the setup of everything. Like you set up merch, and there's like lockers behind you, dude. And like thinking about it when it was happening, I was like, this is surreal. Like to have gone to high school and been tormented in it, then to just come back 15 years later and play a show in a high school. It's just like the same thing. Weird.
That is so weird. See, like I never knew like how it was set up. I've had bands on it here and there, but like
Yeah.
I knew it was at like a high school, but like I never knew like I just assumed it was like, okay, they probably have a stage in the gym and they maybe have like a
Right.
stage
Outdoor.
outside, you know,
Yeah.
something
No,
like that. It's fucking
it's
all
all inside.
inside.
It's all inside. And they make do of the whole high school, and it looks exactly like anyone's
How
high
did
school.
it's crazy to me. Like, how the fuck did they get a high school to want to do that?
Rural Michigan, I
Yeah.
think.
And money, I guess, right?
Yeah,
Money.
exactly. I've always been a big fan of, the rural Midwest, because there's nowhere quite like the rural Midwest to give you that look of pure disgust. You don't get disgust on the coasts.
No,
or in the South,
no. It's the Midwest, dude.
It's
yes.
It's a special look, because they look at you and immediately you feel like you can feel the hatred in their eyes. They're just like, why are you here?
What are you doing here? Yeah.
And we got a whole day of that. We set up merch and didn't even play.
That's so funny.
They were ready to leave the building if we played, but they didn't get that opportunity.
They didn't get it at all.
No. We actually sold a lot of stuff too. It was great.
Really?
Spite sales. Yeah.
Because they wouldn't let you guys on it, right? They
wouldn't let us play, so we just showed up and guerrilla style set up merch.
Oh, so like they didn't like say that was okay.
Well, I'm not sure. Maybe they did say it was okay. Maybe Colin would know better on that one. But I don't think they were specifically asked. I think we did it, and we were like, well, if they tell us to go, then
we'll pack it up. Yeah, we'll pack it up then.
But no one wanted to do that. And so
no.
It was interesting. It was quite the experience, I will say that.
That's definitely fucking funny. What was gonna add? We had a question here. Will Wristmeetrazor ever play at least one SGKF song live when touring comes back? What's SGKF?
So that's Jonah's weird MySpace grind side project, and the answer to that is definitely not. So
there you have it.
I'm not even
no
sure.
Way.
Well, first off, I don't think that they can be played live. I don't even think that's music that would translate live at all. But yeah, no,
I gotta check it out. Is it up?
Yeah, no, I think so. I think
Bandcamp?
it's up on Spotify now. Just Second
really?
Grade Knife Fight is what it's called.
What is it again? Second Grade Knife
Fight.
I gotta check that out.
It's
just pull it up now so I remember to do it after we get out off here.
It's as extreme and like nonsensical MySpace grind as it gets. It's just a wall of Jonah freaking out. It's not. If not, it's on Bandcamp.
It is? So. Okay. I'll leave the name written down there. That's fucking funny. We had another question regarding Tyler's inclusion in Wristmeetrazor. Did it happen naturally, or like it came to the point where you didn't want to remain a 3-piece forever?
Both, actually. Both.
Yeah.
We didn't want to do the 3-piece thing forever, and Tyler's always been a person who's been in on our peripherals, because he's a great guitar player. He sings for the band Foreign Hands, and he sings for another band called Vicious Embrace, and he's just always he just always liked Wristmeetrazor, and he's came to our shows and we've liked him, so
kind of just worked out that way.
Yeah, totally. Because I'm very picky with who I want, to spend,
well, yeah, you have to be
bandwidth.
Yeah, so, you have to be.
We didn't want to be a 3-piece anymore, like almost immediately, because the 3-piece thing was more so because we started off as a screamo project on the internet, like we didn't start as a band. We started as an idea, essentially.
Yes. Yeah.
So Tyler's inclusion was out of necessity, and it was out of just us liking him as a person.
Yeah, just becoming friends with him and shit.
So, yeah, and I mean, and to that extent, it's not too out of the realm of possibility that maybe in the very near future we'll add someone else, and I won't have to play bass and sing at the same time anymore. So
yeah, exactly.
Stay tuned on that.
There you go. Do you have a favorite song from Wristmeetrazor?
Yeah, I do. I would say my favorite Wristmeetrazor song is off of the new record that comes out June 11th. It's called Nietzsche Is Dead. I wrote that song in the midst of complete isolation during the pandemic, and it's a reaction to what I thought, what I saw was happening. What I saw what was happening in the world that needed context, that was very not contextualized. So I think a lot of what's happened over the last year needs art to contextualize it, and this one song, I believe, does it more than anything. I've been a big fan of philosophy. I like to read a lot. So the song is a 1 minute 30-second long blast of philosophy and hatred. You just have to hear it.
I'm stoked, man.
It's a very special track that you'll be able to hear June 11th. So
June 11th. Are you guys gonna be releasing another single before that?
Yep. There will be another single, and there will be another music video, but that's all I'll really say about that. But yes.
Can't give out too much. That's sick.
There's another single and another music video that we've filmed. It's ready to come out. So
rad, dude. I'm fucking stoked, dude. The band, the 2 new singles I absolutely love, and I can't wait to hear the rest of the record, man. Absolutely. And to see you guys live. Because I haven't seen you guys live yet.
I know you have to check that out.
I have never seen the band live.
We aim to please when it comes to our live aesthetic and what we do. I mean, it's all based on kind of what I think some people would expect and what some people wouldn't expect. I like to put on a good show, though. That's I think that's important.
Hell yeah, dude. Well, Justin, this has been awesome to do with you today. I was stoked you were down to do this podcast with me. Can't wait for the new record. Can't wait to see you guys live. I know you're probably extremely anxious to get back on the road.
Yeah, and to put out music. Yeah,
and put out music, exactly. So this has been fucking awesome to do with you. And yeah, stoked to see you and meet you hopefully later this year or early next year.
Yeah, likewise, man.
All right, man. Well, this is the end of it, everybody. Definitely go check out the new Wristmeetrazor songs. Pick up the record if you're able to. It's the best way to support them. Pick up some merch. If you don't know who they are, please check them out. If you love the old school metalcore style, like Vane and all that stuff, Knock Loose, even goes beyond that. 18 Visions, I can definitely compare you guys to. I feel like, which is a great fucking one of my favorites growing up. Definitely go check out Wristmeetrazor. And then until next time, man. Thank you for doing this today.
Thank you for having me.
Man. I will talk to you soon.
All right.
Later, bro.